Perfect. Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, today we're going to be making, or I'm not, when I say we're, it's the guest. None of us are making anything, I don't think, but it sounds amazing, the recipe, a date and pasilla pepper. Pasilla peppers are my favorite peppers, by the way, because when I teach at Rancho La Puerta, my favorite salsa is made out of pasilla peppers. But this is a date and pasilla pepper stuffed sweet potato, sweet and savory. What a great combination. Please welcome my guest who is going to make it. Her name is Kelly Cupell. It's nice to meet you.
On my screen. Hi, everybody. Chef AJ was frozen for a bit. Can you hear
me? Oh,
me?
no. Can you see me and hear me now? I'll move around a bit.
Yes, you were frozen. Hello.
I know that does happen sometime. Well, I am frozen because I moved to Northern California where it's 32 degrees. So I actually am frozen.
Okay. Well, should I take it?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about yourself, Kelly, when you became vegan, why, and all about this delicious recipe you're going to make.
Excellent. So my name is Kelly Cupell, and I'm here in Tucson, Arizona. And I've been vegan, plant-based on and off for almost 4 decades. So as a young child, I was vegetarian, but then I had many different disordered patterns and off-kilter patterns of eating. And throughout my adult life, for the most part, I have been vegetarian, not necessarily vegan. There were many instances where I did have fish. But for the past years, say 5 to 7 years, majority vegan, plant-based, no dairy, no animal products, even no grains for the most part. And what brought me to that is I study health and wellness. I have my master's degree in public health behavior. I'm a corporate health coach. I'm a certified yoga teacher, and I teach at a nursing college, humanities coursework. And I'm just very passionate about health and wellness. And actually, my passion has taken me all over the world. I've been able to serve people in Africa having to do with health and wellness. I've worked in Asia, throughout Europe, and I've studied in Europe. And I worked at Canyon Ranch. And so if you ever go there and you dine at the W restaurant, this story on the back, I authored the story. So that's something that's sort of cool. Goodness. Any questions so far? I can't see the chat, but I'm just very passionate about helping others discover a really healthy, balanced, plant-based lifestyle. And given that I'm a health coach, I wanted to share a little tutorial with you that I do with my clients so they can see why it's so important to eat really good whole foods before we get to cooking. So bear with me. I'm going to step around my table. Okay, so I'm going to try to project so you can hear me. But I have two empty bowls. And what I usually do for my clients is I fill one empty bowl with whole food, say a sweet potato, an onion, a date. Here's a dried pepper that we'll use in a bit. Let's see what else. Some broccoli. And a couple tomatoes. How about that? Now in the other bowl, I usually put processed food. So here today we have a bunch of, as you can see, gray.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. Host Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So then after I do that and I have my 2 bowls, what I do is add water. To bowl. And the point of this tutorial is I will leave this on my counter or on the table where I'm presenting or working with my clients, and we'll walk away for about 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes when we return, I'm sure you can guess what happens to these 2 bowls, right? This bowl, nothing is going to change. And most of the time I put cooked food in here as well, full cooked foods. They don't deteriorate, but this bowl will turn into sugar soup, right? So it deteriorates. So from the moment when we eat these calorie dense, hyper processed foods, when you guys know this too, I know you know this, but when they hit your tongue, we start to metabolize them. And it's just a sugar storm that goes through our body. Whereas these whole foods, we get to metabolize them slowly and get all the great nutrients without all the excess calories. So with that said, my 2 bowls tutorial in a nutshell. And today, given that I know everybody in the plant-based world loves, well, for the most part, loves sweet potatoes, and hopefully as much as I do, I chose one of my favorite, super simple recipes to make today. And it's a simple sweet potato stuffed with both soaked pasilla peppers and soaked dates. And all you really need to do is, there's really very little prep. Bake some sweet potatoes, perhaps the night before. And then what you want to do is go to your local grocery store, or if you have a Mexican grocery store, you can get a bag of the dried pasilla peppers. And I just love these. They're earthy, they're delicious, they aren't very spicy. And then you're also going to want to get dates. And for the purpose of this recipe, what you do is simply take 3 dates and you pit them. And then, hold on. You're simply going to soak your dates in water, and you're going to soak some pasilla peppers in water. Now, I had, from the recipe today, for 1 potato, for a meal just for myself, I soaked 3 pasilla peppers for about an hour. I also soaked 3 pitted dates for an hour. Then all you're going to do is grab your blender or your Vitamix, and you're going to stick them in here. So make sure your dates are pitted, and the whole pasilla pepper, even the seeds, given that they aren't very spicy. And you're going to pulse them with just about, if you have it, a 1/4 cup of cashew milk that I have over there, and a pinch of cinnamon. You pulse it up, easy breezy, scrape the sides, pulse it again, and you're done. And actually what it looks like is this. So it's just a beautiful, earthy, sweet and savory paste. And the second step is simply take whatever kind, if you have a white sweet potato, a purple sweet potato, a yam, whatever you have. And for purposes today, I have this here. You're just going to split it open. I just baked this. And just dollop the spread in there. Easy breezy. There's really nothing to it. And I really like to put some red onion on top. And that's really the whole recipe. So I have another sweet potato here with the paste that you can make in minutes flat. And then once again, all you have to do is put a little bit of red onion or cilantro or whatever you choose on top. And that is the entire recipe. And believe me, if you bake the potatoes or steam your potatoes the night before, and if you soak your dates and your pasilla pepper maybe an hour prior, it takes 20 seconds in the Vitamix. It's ready. Split the potato, put it in, and then top it with anything you like, whether it be red onion like I like, tomato, diced tomato, cilantro, and maybe a little more cinnamon. And that's truly it. So Chef AJ, that's a date and pasilla stuffed sweet potato.
That's a pretty easy recipe.
Yes, it certainly is. And if you're wondering why I have on a paper apron, it's because I also make paper art out of recycled paper garbage. So that's the rationale for this.
That is a very cute apron. Can people buy those on your website?
They certainly can. And on my website, you can see all the paper art I make, recycled art. And I also make recycled belts out of old scarves. But I also wanted to just share with your community a few ideas, if that's okay.
Please.
Okay, absolutely. I think I'm going to walk over here again. But I'm very passionate not only for cookery and copywriting and all this in the art that I do, but I'm also passionate for hearing other people's stories having to do with food. And if there are any folks out there who are also interested in that, I would love for them to contact me. We could share my email address, and it is in my website, which I know you've posted. But I'd love to put together sort of a theatrical event, actually, where people tell their story sort of in monologue version, their life through food. And so again, I'm very passionate about the arts, about theater, and about creating healthy living in community. So the first idea that I wanted to share was for as many people as that are interested to contact me if you want to put together monologues about your life through food and how you came to plant-based living and realized your health. And my second idea is for a cookbook called, and this is a little racy, but the Vegan Three-Way. And what I see is on every page, there would be one recipe, but done three different ways with three different chefs that are plant-based. So for instance, a stuffed sweet potato, it would be done three ways with three different perspectives, but all SOS free. And that's another passion of mine, is putting together creative copy. I've done this in the past for many podcasters, for their healthy home workshops, for all sorts of things that one can buy online, but unfortunately not under my name. And my third idea that I wanted to share was I'm also passionate for making funny copy. So I don't know if you can read this correctly. Is it backwards?
For fig's sake, juice I got most of it. For fig's sake, juice date.
Juice date me. For fig's sake, juice
Oh,
date
that's
me.
cute. That's very clever. And people can get those on your website?
Yeah, but yeah, that absolutely. But I'm really hoping if there's anybody watching from Arizona or Tucson that's interested in doing something as a collective, creating, cookbooks, creating collateral to just empower people, of course, to teach them about healthy living, but with really fun stuff. And I don't know, again, I know it's going to be backwards.
No, it's not backwards.
Okay.
Okay. It's just that I've got to change the view mode. So it says starch to the beat of your own crumb.
Yes. So I have a whole, and you can see all the different taglines that I've created online on my website. And that's basically it. I mean, I'm just very passionate about getting together with other people who want to, use creativity to help people become well.
People love your background, your shelves, so that they think that's obviously you designed that, I'm sure.
Yes.
So tell us your story, though. You like monologues and story. What's your plant-based story, Kelly?
Oh my goodness. My plant-based story is long and wavy gravy. As a little child, I actually was very fortunate to grow up in a home where my parents were chefs. They were Epicureans. They had a gourmet club. They would make over the top dinners and for their gourmet club, and have people over once a month for very elaborate dining. So it wasn't plant-based at all. But I've always loved animals, and I've always been into health and wellness. And for some reason, although my family was not plant-based, I knew in my heart that that was the right thing for me. So over the course of my teenage years and just trying out different eating patterns on my own, I discovered that I felt my best when I was not eating animal products. And I studied in Switzerland and Germany. I studied the art of the Holocaust and cultural studies and all sorts of things. And when I was doing that, I met a lot of folks who were very sensitive to the treatment of animals and, of course, humans, and just being very connected to oneself and the earth. And so it just always felt wrong to me to have animal products in my diet. And having studied public health, and I specialized in health behavior and nutrition, I actually received a fellowship, and I was sent to the island of Kauai for 100 days to design the nutrition curriculum there for the at-risk Pacific Islanders. And while being there, one would think that people would eat very healthy and plant-based would be a big thing on the islands, but unfortunately it wasn't. And from my studies and from my work, health coaching and working with people who desire to lose weight and establish a healthy lifestyle, I can just tell you that diets and fads and pills and potions and keto this and high fat that just are not sustainable, and they don't work, as you all know. My mantra when working with other people having to do with health and wellness and dietary patterns is there is no one size fits all, but what we all start from does fit all, and that's plants. So if you build your diet from plants, if you build your plate from plants, if you start every day that way, and instead of adding with products, edit out the other stuff gradually, and you will get to where you need to be and be able to maintain weight healthily. But a lot of people just don't understand that it's a process, and weight loss and sustained weight loss and a healthy lifestyle takes time, and you have to be patient with yourself.
Mm. Is there a big plant-based community where you live?
In Tucson, it's not as robust as I would wish it to be, but there are pockets. Yes, it's a haven for traditional Mexican food, which is very meaty, very meat heavy. So we are a gastronomic fiesta where people from all over the world come to eat, but it's not necessarily because it's plant-based. It's usually because it's very meat-based.
Wow. Have you ever heard of Elaine Shrewsbury or Greenheart Bakery in Tucson?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
That's my sister-in-law.
Oh my goodness. Yes, she does to order. You can, yes. She's been doing that for years and years and years. She has a lovely website. Yes.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
Yes.
cool. Well, how long has it been then since you've been vegan or plant-based?
Well, again, there's been many times in my life where I've experienced hardships or trauma where I really wasn't eating right at all. So for me, plant-based, um, I'm going on my 5th decade now, would be at least 3 decades, but vegan without any animal product, any fish would truthfully be just about 5 to 7 years.
It's So what do you eat like in a day now? That's a question that almost every guest gets asked on this show.
I can't go a day without cantaloupe, potatoes, spicy peppers, tomatoes, cilantro, onion, and apple. So those are always in rotation. And right now, for some reason, I just can't get enough of cantaloupe. So
Can you get cantaloupe all year round?
yes, right now it's expensive because it is not in season, but when it is in season, I buy copious amounts for a great bargain. We're going into our citrus season, so now is my time where I start to find all the citrus trees that nobody else will harvest but me. So I'll be able to get all my free delicious grapefruit, which I can't. Yes.
That's great. You guys have any questions for Kelly? You know, I was looking at your website and it says you make paper wedding dresses. Who wears a paper dress to their wedding, and how would you wash a paper dress?
Well, that's the whole point of it. So people send me their love notes. So all the paper based love relationship related mementos, and then I craft them into just the bodice and a beautiful artsy fitted paper gown that she would wear over a tight white fitted gown, and it's just to walk down the aisle, and then it is removed and she puts on her party dress, but it's pressed flat and then framed in an archival frame for, say, over the sofa in a very large frame. So it turns into art. So the dresses that I make aren't made to be worn. They're more artistic and full of mementos, and then made into a piece of art.
Very cool. That's very creative. Have you written any books?
I have not under my name. I've written a guide to stand-up paddleboarding. I love to stand up paddleboard with my dog Gretchen and my dog Thor. So I've authored a book about that, how to. I've authored multiple books for, not books, but healthy home workshops for Ben Greenfield. He has a podcast. He's in the wellness arena, sort of started when Rich Roll did. I lived with him. I was his assistant. So I authored his healthy home workshops. I worked on a book called Obstacle Dominator. And I've authored many health and wellness presentations and lectures for my coaching position, and of course, through the different universities that I'm affiliated with.
Nice. You know, you said you were a health coach, and that means different things to different people. So did you go to a place to get like a certification? Because people are always interested in how to become a health coach, especially a vegan health coach.
Well, the organization that I work for is you have to have either a master's degree or a PhD or be something. And then within that organization, if you're hired, we receive training that way. So with my master's degree, and I'm a certified Purna yoga teacher, and I have further education as well. And then we do training through this council in in motivational interviewing and different paradigms of health behavior, different health behavior models, including the trans theoretical model behavior change. And that's the way that I have become a health coach. And then we're put out into the community, well, all through Arizona, actually. And I'm charged with serving the largest hospital campus here in town. So I'm the wellness person for all the physicians and nurses and physical therapists and all that. And then I also work with a very large auto dealership. So all the dealerships within a blanket of, it's like an auto mall. So I work with the people who work at Jeep and Hyundai and Kia and on two sides of Tucson. So right now I work with two large organizations as their health coach.
Nice. What do you do for exercise?
I run. So I am a runner, and of course I practice yoga. I do teach yoga in the park. I do body weight exercise. I do calisthenics too, along with my yoga for my guests. But I blend Purna yoga and Strala yoga. I've actually studied two different forms of yoga. So Purna yoga is a classical alignment-based yoga. I studied that in Seattle. And then Strala yoga is sort of a fun hip hop yoga out of New York with Tara Styles. So I'm certified through both colleges.
Wow. I like yoga. Do you ever do yin yoga? That's my favorite.
Yes, I actually teach a wonderful yin class called Soak, is what I call it. I really make sure that the people that I'm serving, that I'm working with, really have a restorative yin soaked in, grace and bliss experience. So that's a big part of what I help my guests with. Absolutely yin. Mhm.
Any of your friends and family become vegan because of you?
No, well, friends, yes. Family, no. Again, my family lives in the Midwest, Chicago area. Very reluctant to hear anything about health and wellness from their daughter or their sister for some reason, even with everything that I've studied and offered the world.
Will you
But
be will you be spending Thanksgiving with them next week?
no, I'll be here in Tucson. So I'll be making my own Thanksgiving feast for friends.
And
Yes.
what will you be making?
Oh my goodness. So there will be every kind of vegetable. We call it veggie slop. It's not a very elegant name, but we buy cauliflower, broccoli, collards, green cabbage, red cabbage, everything you can imagine. And first we cook down the ginger and the garlic and the onions, and then we add the big hearty vegetables and then the leafy greens and make this big, beautiful pot of veggie slop. And we dollop all sorts of wonderful vinaigrettes or reductions on top and serve that with potatoes and all sorts of wonderful things and fresh green salads. And I'll do grilled fruit for dessert.
Oh, how do you grill your fruit? And do you follow just a vegan diet, a plant-based diet, or are you also SOS free?
For the most part, I'm SOS free vegan. However, given that I run a lot, sometimes I feel like I need a little bit of sodium, so I will use miso. And that is actually very delicious, miso on melon, and then grilling that. You can actually grill melon. You can grill slices of pretty much any kind of fruit on a grill. Usually, I use a skewer and make skewers like kebabs, and I'll even put some cherry tomatoes and savory vegetables as well.
Sounds good.
Oh.
Nice. You think you'll ever write a cookbook?
Well, I'm hoping to do that, and that's what my call out was for, is as well. Hoping that perhaps people would contact me who are also interested in authoring together. My idea again is like the vegan three-way, where every page would be the same recipe but done three different ways with three different perspectives from three different SOS plant-based chefs.
I love it. I think that's a great idea. So would you give them the recipe, or you would just say the name of the recipe and they would have to come up with it?
I think it would be more as a collective. So after a group of people would say, "Hey, I want to do this," we'd figure out, okay, what are, say, It depends on the amount of people too, right? If you have 20 recipes, you would need 60 people if you want to do it 3 ways, or the same 3 people on every recipe, right? But I think as a collective, we could decide, or one could decide, um, from very basic to maybe something a little more complex. But I think if one did a recipe book or something, say, and I'm really not an elaborate vegan chef. I would never make vegan macaroni and cheese. But for the sake of this right now, say one wanted to do it 3 different ways. It could be a very reductionist method, a more traditional method, and then a very elaborate method could be the 3 different varieties of that same vegan recipe. So for me, it wouldn't even entail pasta. It would be, zucchini, maybe for the cheesiness, some nutritional yeast, and then I'm not sure what else, but another vegan chef might use pasta and vegan cheese and who the heck knows what else, shallots and garlic.
Yeah. I think your title is really adorable. I just want to let you know that we had a guest on this week who has a book called For Fork's Sake. And because of that, Amazon won't let her advertise.
I watched that. And yes, I heard that. And she was adorable. And you thought she looked like Julia Roberts. Yeah, she was really fun. Yeah. Yeah. I thought
Well, I'm just saying, because I think Vegan 3-Way or whatever is a great title, but just not everybody, in the Midwest will.
Right. I agree. But sometimes if you have a more racy name or if something's catchy, actually people who you think wouldn't pick it up or look at it are the first ones to do so.
That's true. I mean, Skinny Bitch did very well, and it had a different title at the beginning.
Yep, absolutely.
Apple wants to know if you have any favorite bean recipes.
Oh, goodness. I love all beans. Lately, I've been using a lot of garbanzo beans, a lot of black beans, and a lot of lentils. Given that lentils cook so quick compared to, having to soak the black beans and the garbanzos, lentils for the most part, I just throw into my veggie slops. So I really don't use recipes. I'm more of a wing it, very minimalistic chef cook. As you can see with the recipe that I made, very minimal.
I know that was really easy. I was going to say, if I'd known it was that quick, I would have saved it for the end of the show. That was really easy.
Yeah. So in terms of legumes and, beans, I love to soak beans, not just for a day, maybe 2 days, drain the water a couple times, and then cook them slowly. I don't use a rice cooker. I don't use a Instapot. I just use my stovetop. And garbanzo beans are just really delightful with garlic, just sort of mashed rustically. And then sort of as a base for other vegetables or in salads. Black beans, of course, are delicious with pico de gallos and hot sauce and cayenne pepper and balsamic vinegar. I don't think that there's any bean that isn't good with balsamic vinegar, just that.
Well, if you like balsamic vinegar, you get 2 free bottles just for being on the show.
Oh man, that's exciting. Yes, I love balsamic. I've never I have maybe met a balsamic I don't like, but very rare.
Yeah, I've only had one I don't like because it was just too sour. It was so sour. Actually, for those of you that like California balsamic, Thomas is at the Harvest Festival this weekend, and you can go get 2 free bottles just by saying my name, Chef AJ. Small bottles, but free bottles.
Excellent. And I can't see the chat, so I don't know if there's any questions.
Yeah, I'm asking for questions. And here's one. Are you on the pumpkin train? Do you have any favorite squash dishes?
Oh my gosh. I love pumpkin. I love buying baking pumpkins and washing them, quartering them, and steaming them. And again, just like one would eat an acorn squash, sort of stuff it or just I love the meat of every squash and every pumpkin. And again, I'm a spicy girl, so cayenne pepper, a little bit of cinnamon, and just alone, a raw onion on it, spaghetti squash, acorn squash. Lately, though, just pumpkin. So thank you for asking. Yes, but I don't bake pies or anything. I've never been a baker.
That's okay. There's room for all of us. Let's see. Here's a question from Jesse. You mentioned beets a lot. What is your favorite beet recipe, and what's your favorite way of using beet greens?
Oh, Goodness. Well, beets are just so nitrogen rich and delightful. I pickled beets, not necessarily. Really just buying a fresh bunch of beets, washing them, dicing them up, steaming them, adding them to salads, adding them to my lentils. I like them when they're a little bit soft. Of course, I don't. I never eat like beet carpaccio. Sometimes people just make carpaccio out of beets, and beet greens. There's just so many different ways to prepare. Well, I mean, not to prepare, but I can't think of something that I wouldn't add beet greens to, given that I love all vegetables mixed together. Again, I'm not a recipe girl. I'm just a vegetable girl. What are your favorite beet recipes?
Oh, I have a recipe in my book called Bodacious Beet Salad that came from my friend Shada. It's beets and mango and red onion with a balsamic vinegar dressing. That is delicious. I like beet chips. You can get them without salt or make them. I like shredded beets, just raw beets in a salad. What else? I like borscht. I mean, beets are great. Just when you touch them, wear gloves.
Yeah, well, the golden beets are great too. So just to have that little variation of color is nice as well.
Yep, and you can get beets already steamed, which is great at places like Trader Joe's and Costco. And roasted beets are fantastic.
Yes, you know what? I'd have to agree. I think roasted beets are the best by far. They're delicious with balsamic vinegar.
Yeah, anything you roast it brings out the sweetness, that's for sure. Let's see. What is your favorite type of exercise or daily activity? I know you mentioned you run. Doesn't get too hot to run in Tucson?
Yeah, but in the summertime, wake up before the sun comes up or run after the sun goes down. But definitely running is my favorite activity, exercise by far. Um, it's so cathartic for me. As long as you're protected from the sun, right?
Absolutely. Well, especially the desert sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more questions for, can you show us more of your art?
Sure. Well, actually, the best place to see it would be my website. What I make is really just paper garments out of recycled paper. So I have a few I can grab beside me. Um, I don't wear these out. These aren't meant to be worn out. They're meant for galleries. And again, the wedding dresses that I make out of people's love notes and mementos. And then they're turned into wall art. So let me just grab a few things.
I love people that are artistic.
Oh,
Make their food beautiful too.
all right.
Don't
So,
you guys love the kitchen?
thanks. So this is a bodice that I've been working on. They're again, it's just all recycled art. I utilize old textbooks, found things. When I buy a food product that is packaged, say coffee, and I like the packaging, I'll reuse the package. So just paper. Let's see. There's another one I'm working on. So I know you can't see completely, but if I go behind my table, you won't be able to hear me. So again, please, kellycupell.com, www. You will be able to see my paper art there and the silk belts that I make out of recycled scarves.
Do you ever do shows, like art shows with your work?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done a bunch of art shows, and I used to make asymmetric earrings that I would heat bend out of metal. And of course, like these belts that I make, I sell these as well. So this is a recycled scarf that's been made, I know you can't see me, into a belt.
Wow. And can people can buy this if they like, right?
Oh, absolutely. And well, in Tucson, people will work with me so I can measure them. Of course, you'd have to send me your measurements so I know how many times you want it to loop around your waist. Everybody is different, but absolutely, yeah.
It's great. Yeah, very cool. Do you ever teach classes on how to do it?
I haven't taught anybody how to do what I do, no, but I thought it might be interesting to use it as a form of therapy with some of my coaching clients to sort of have them create paper art and perhaps burn it after the fact, maybe for catharsis.
That's funny. Question if you have an Instagram page.
I do. It's Kelly Paper 7, but I opened it strictly for galleries initially, so I don't populate it given that I couldn't control who was looking at it. I know you can make it private, but then galleries couldn't find it. And I'm sort of reluctant to add more photography of myself. Some people are just not nice how they comment or remark or think that they can say whatever they wish about your body or yourself. So it is there, and you can certainly check it out. It's Kelly Paper 7, and you'll be
And I put that below it's what's called the show notes. It's right underneath the YouTube video.
great.
Yeah, you have some really interesting pieces on it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Social media can be very toxic. You think? Yeah. It's very hard to do this, That's why I don't read my own comments. I learned that from Johnny Depp, who doesn't see his own movies, apparently. Obviously I'm reading the comments in the chat, but I don't read the YouTube or Facebook. I can't. It's too sensitive. Too sensitive.
And I probably would have done more or started something, but I feel like social media is very saturated and there are so many people doing all sorts of cool stuff. And until I have a very clear point of view, I don't want to put anything out there that would just get muddled with everything that's clear and wonderful already.
Jesse's looked at the photos on your website, says they're beautiful.
Thank you.
Yep. Are there any good vegan resources or channels that you recommend?
Oh gosh, well, Chef AJ, Well Your World, Dr. McDougall, of course, anything from the Physicians Committee, Dr. Neil Barnard.
Barnyard. I love that. Dr. Neil Barnyard. That'd be a great
name. I mispronounced that.
I won't, but considering how much he loves animals, that is kind of a cool name for him,
Oh, goodness. And that's exactly what I'm trying to get across. There's a lot of social media channels, YouTube channels, Instagram pages where people can be triggered, or it's not necessarily peer reviewed or true science. So you have to be careful who you watch and listen to. So Chef AJ has all the wonderful people that you can watch, and then you can go to them, which I love. But I really love Well Your World, and they're here in Arizona, and they do great things and great super simple recipes. They're fantastic. Dr. McDougall, of course, is just wonderful for articulating how easy it truly is and to be plant-based, and how wonderful the potato is, and that you don't need healthy fats and this and that. So that's a very good voice of reason. So for anybody who's asking, I would just go through Chef AJ's library and find people that way.
Thanks. Where do creative people like you get your ideas from?
I don't know. I think you're just born with your intuition and your want to do what you need to do, right? We all have our drive and I couldn't imagine not doing what I do. It's funny, I get out of bed and I do a creative project as soon as I get out of bed in the morning, just to wake up.
Nice. Do you have any meditation practice?
I'm probably not the stereotypical yoga teacher. No, for me, when I run, I think, I pray, I listen to podcasts, I listen to you. So that's why I probably had the time wrong. I just listen to things whenever the heck I want to, because they're on YouTube. I don't have a meditation practice. I grew up, in the Bible Belt, and I have some anchors in my life that I think I should be doing that I'm not doing, but as an adult, that's me to figure out. So no, for me, running is meditation, exercise is meditation, cooking is meditation.
Yeah, cooking. I love, and art is meditative, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. And that when you lose track of time, you're doing what you need to be doing. If you're in the middle of a project, regardless of what it may be, and you forget what time it is, that means you were meant to do that because you love it so much.
Cool. You guys have any more questions for Kelly? You almost have time to do another recipe. Here's a question. How did you end up working in Asia, and Africa?
Well, this is interesting. So my design background took me to Asia. I was a product line developer for a wholesaler in Asia. So that's what took me to Asia. And Africa was water sanitation and nutrition education in Uganda as a volunteer, a public health volunteer.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Angela's concurring that her exercise is her meditation, meditation in motion.
Yep. Yep. I know some people would argue that that's not proper and that you really need to slow down and sit and do your meditation practice. And I understand that. In the College of Purna Yoga, that was a huge component of it. But in my life right now, for me, it's more of an active meditation. Yeah.
Yep.
And I actually have a very funny story about yoga college having to do with meditation. When I enrolled to study at the College of Purna Yoga, it was by chance. I had enrolled to study hot yoga, right? And I had bought all these black clothes and I thought I was going to be this hot little yoga teacher and it would be such a blast. And I spent all my money on the tuition and all the clothing. And 2 days before the yoga college was supposed to start, I received a phone call saying it was canceled. The teacher was pregnant and so on and so forth. So I was in a panic and I thought, well, I need to go to yoga school. This is really what I wanted to do. And the College of Purna Yoga had one place open. And so they let me into the program and it was to start very soon. And there was an orientation. It was a weekend evening after work, I'll never forget. And it was very cold. It was in Seattle. And I went to the orientation and there was this beautiful woman named Mana Luna. And there was a lotus blossom in the middle of this room and candles lit. And all of the students who were going to study together were sitting around this lotus blossom and this candle. And the lights were dim and it was just lovely as all can be. And I really didn't know much about this college, this particular kind of yoga. I had my mind set on a whole different style. And this woman, Mana Luna, started to speak and she was saying, at the College of Purna Yoga, you know, it's meditation based and we're going to learn all this. It's just going to be spectacular. But one thing is you aren't allowed to wear black clothing. You have to wear colorful clothing. Nothing black is allowed. And in my brain hearing that, I'm thinking, I just spent all my money on this whole black wardrobe. And then she started to ask everybody who was part of this group to start training together to talk and introduce themselves. Well, I was probably 9th in line. I believe there were 12 students. And by the time she got to me, I was crying hysterically because I didn't know how I would be able to come to my first day of yoga college the next morning because I didn't have any yoga clothes that weren't black. So she got to me and I was hysterical. And she said, oh, you know, the power of love has overtaken her. And I'm thinking, no, it's the power that I don't know what the heck I'm going to wear in the morning without getting kicked out. So yoga for me has always been, you know, just such a blessing, and I've learned so much. But at the same time, my artsy, funny nature has always been part of that. So back to the meditation, my meditation is a little different.
Well, yeah, you're quirky in a good way. You mentioned comedy before we went on. Do you ever do comedy?
Oh, comedy is a big part of my life. I do. I see comedy in everything. So I'm not just funny looking, I can be funny. Jim Gaffigan is one of my favorite people. I know you're a wonderful comedian, Chef AJ. Yeah, growing up where I grew up in the Midwest, close to Chicago, we'd go to a lot of comedy clubs. And I grew up on David Letterman and Saturday Night Live. So all that good stuff.
I actually was on the David Letterman show it's actually the Friday after Thanksgiving. I think it was either 1984 or 1985. I wish I could get the footage. That was really fun.
This is a funny story. My dad and David Letterman both went to Ball State and they were both kicked out the same semester.
That's funny. Here's a question. Will you be participating in the annual 4th Avenue Street Fair in Tucson? And do you ever sell at the Relito Farmers Market on Sundays? I think that's where my sister-in-law sells her products.
Right. I've never sold at the farmers market, no, and I've never bought a booth at any of the 4th Avenue festivals, and they have them in the winter and the summer. I've never done that. I always think that I won't make enough money, that I'll spend too much and probably won't make enough, given that my art is sort of ephemeral.
That's funny. Do you have any pets?
I do. I have two dogs, Thor and Gretchen, and they both left the room. I wanted to introduce you to them, but they are both gone. And Gretchen is a certified therapy dog. She went through a program at the Humane Society here in town, the Humane Society of Southern Arizona. She took an entrance exam and made it into the program, and we went to school together, and she has the real vest and gets to go places and help people, and it's a real kick.
That's what we did in the desert when I lived there with Bailey. I'm just trying to find the place here that they do that.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really fun. Yeah. Well, we'd love to meet your dogs if they're free.
I have no idea where they went, actually. This is a big place under construction, so they could be anywhere right now. And if I leave the room, I don't know what will happen.
Yeah, they love your dog's name, Thor and Gretchen.
Yes, they have their own Instagram page as well. And so
Wow,
there will be a link there. Yes.
that's great. Do you have your the dish you made? Because sometimes people tune in late and I would love them to see it.
Yes, it's right here.
Remember, you have to talk when you hold stuff up.
Oh, well, this is the pasilla pepper and date stuffed sweet potato with some red onions on top, and it is just delightful and delectable. And what I would do, I'm sure you can see behind me, but there's some balsamic vinegar that I've mentioned 100 times. I would douse this with balsamic as well, and it is delicious. And
I love that. I love that douse. I have a friend who just had a birthday, and I bought him 4 bottles in the flavor of his choice of California balsamic vinegar. And in 2 weeks they were gone. Now that's a lot of balsamic vinegar. He loves that stuff. So a question, can you explain a little bit about Purna yoga? How is that different?
Purna yoga is alignment-based yoga. It's classical. I would go to their website. There are only a few Purna yoga colleges in the whole world, actually. There's one in Hawaii, Seattle. I believe it's either Norway or Finland. It's very slow. It's very good for people who are disabled. And that too was very fortunate for me in 2011, 2 days after I returned home from Uganda to Seattle. I was hit by a bus while I was riding my bike. It wasn't as bad as it sounds, but it was pretty bad. So becoming a yoga teacher had a lot to do with recuperation and healing my body. So Purna yoga is, again, classical, slow. It is not a workout, it's a work in. And I would suggest that you go to the website and you check it out, and you can learn a lot. There's things called soul snacks. We do a lot of different exercises that just shield your energy and keep your soul safe. And the coolest thing about yoga is, before I became a yoga teacher, people go to yoga class and they'll recite namaste. Does anybody really know what that means? I mean, do you know what that means? And so just really learning how to live that was very important to me. And so namaste is really everything that is sacred in me honors everything that is sacred in you. And so when I do teach yoga, I always say, everything that's creative and loving and kind and unique about me honors that in you. So, yeah, I think.
Nice. So Monarch asks, when Kelly held up her meal to show, would that be like a complete meal, or would you add something else to it, like maybe a green vegetable or some fruit?
Oh yeah, I would add some tomatoes, probably some steamed broccoli.
Broccoli and sweet potatoes. That's what I have for every day for lunch. You're speaking my language.
Over there, I eat a lot of tomatoes, a lot of broccoli, a lot of pumpkin, a lot of potatoes. I ate a lot of food, a lot of melon.
Yeah. And did you never struggled with your weight, did you?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's good. But you don't worry about how much you eat. So many people, when they come to plant-based, they don't eat enough, actually.
Oh no, I eat a lot. I'm in being active. That can be problematic when you are plant-based and you're very active, to be able to eat enough comfortably. What I mean is, sometimes it's such a fiber bomb for me that I feel incapacitated. So sometimes I have to really figure out what I need to eat and at what time, so it won't interfere with my activity or make me feel too full. On a plant-based diet, I've never felt more full. And that was really the purpose of the initial tutorial, was when you eat a lot of crappy foods, you eat a lot of food and a lot of calories, but you aren't full.
Yeah, show us the bowls now, because a few people tuned in a little bit late.
Oh, sure. Okay, so this is the bowl of processed slop. So if I were to take a spoon, which I have right here, but it has something, oh, who cares? When you, all this cookie, cake, potato chippy stuff just turns to sugar soup, to salty sugar soup. And when you eat it, of course, you aren't going to feel full and you aren't going to get your micro or macronutrients that you need or your phytonutrients. You're just going to have sugar and spike your blood sugar and feel horrible. But in this bowl here with the whole foods, nothing has happened, right? We have to eat it and chew it and digest it, and we'll get all the goodness from it, the nutrients and the taste, without all the calories, fat, sugar, any of that stuff. So
you know, the other difference, Kelly, is the bowl with the fresh food in it. If you just left that on the counter, it would eventually decompose. Whereas the other one, the shelf life would have been months, years.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny. I have a friend who saves all sorts of packaged and processed foods and puts them out with the date, and we watch it deteriorate as compared to, say, an apple, you know, with a bite taken out of it. And it's crazy how long lived these processed manufactured foods live compared to a fresh, real whole food from the ground.
I used to go to a chiropractor when I was in Los Angeles, and once a month he would have like a meet and greet, like that you could refer your friends to, where, you know, so people could, you know, get to know him. And he had a McDonald's cheeseburger. I mean, I'm not kidding. It was like years old. It like was, I mean, not that you would eat it ever, but it's like it didn't change. Like it literally did not spoil, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the beautiful part of the whole food, is that it does go bad. I mean, it's alive. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I came up with something the other day on the show, and I've been saying it now, is the longer the shelf life, the shorter your life.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And I always tell my clients, you know, if anything, please, you know, try to buy nothing in a package. But if you do, if there's more than 5 ingredients, put it back. And people don't understand that all those ingredients, the long, long list, I mean, that's going to make your life shorter. The longer the list, exactly, the shorter the life. Absolutely.
Well, when you say clients, how do you work with people? Is it individually? Is it in group?
Well, as a health coach, it's individual and it's private, of course. So it's one-on-one, either walk-in talks or over the phone or just in a room. And then I do presentations and lectures for what I call employer groups. So I'll go to libraries or community colleges or all different settings and lecture on different things. Right now, I'm really getting a lot of requests for healthy holidays and ingredient replacements for traditional foods and recipes, stress reduction. Yeah, so that's how it's done. One-on-one, usually walk-in talks. So I'll go to where the person works and we'll go outside with umbrellas because it's sunny here, and we'll walk around and I'll help them. Basically, I listen. A good health coach just listens.
Wow, great. And so the best way for people to connect with you is by email, Instagram.
Email is best, my name @gmail.com. And it's on my website as well.
Here's a question. How did you have the confidence to become a personal health coach?
Oh, goodness. This is funny. When I was in graduate school, I was a teaching associate, and I was so nervous the first day that I had to teach a class. And I was talking to another gal and I said, I'm just so nervous. And she said, well, don't you know what TA stands for? And I said, yes, teaching assistant, teaching associate. And she said, no, tremendous actress. So really, when you start anything, you just have to, you learn your craft over time. Nothing is easy initially. Oh my goodness. And every time I teach a class, because I teach humanities for a nursing college, you're always a little bit nervous, right? Because you want to make sure that people are engaged in learning and it's of value.
Have you taken any like acting type classes?
No, never.
Oh, no speaking or anything?
No, nothing.
Oh, wow. You do great. TA, tremendous actress. I think about the chorus line, TNA means something else in that play. Or yeah,
I know
yeah,
what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. Well, if you ever do the book, the Vegan Three-Way, you know, come back on. I think that's a really clever title and a really clever idea.
Well, Thanks. Yeah. So if anybody's interested, please contact me. And if you're interested in other creative, healthy projects, again, please contact me. It's
But yeah, you've got your fingers in a lot of pies, as they say. Yeah, well, anyway, it's lunchtime, and so I don't want to keep you from that delicious sweet potato because I'm just about to have mine, but your sauce is much better than mine.
Well, thank you very much. And I hope you have a lovely lunch. And again, thank you, everybody. And contact me if you're interested in collaborating.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Kelly. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. All right, everybody, take care.
Thank you. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow. We have 2 shows. At 11 a.m., I have Sergeant Bill Muir. He is known as Sergeant Vegan. He did active duty in the military and he's vegan. He's written several books. He's got a new one we're going to tell you about. And at 2 p.m., I have Plentiful Kiki. Take